all of us are concerned about the future of our culture and wish to see the advancement of the kingdom of God and the government of God taking place. You know, this marriage issue that we're thinking on lately is really of momentous importance, because marriage is the classroom where individuals as children learn to relate in a healthy way and to create a healthy civil society. Marriage is much more than the union of two sexes. It's the union of two families. Those two families come together in order to bring forth seed and to establish a whole new family. The future of our culture depends on families and their health. And so I recognize that while the culture itself is sometimes a little bit behind the curve, that the statistics and the documentation that we have before us today is such that we are in a really perilous time. In fact, a professor of sociology at Rutgers University, whose name is David Papineau, indicated that the documentation and evidence that exists today that determines that a child needs a mother and a father in order to grow up in a healthy fashion, that such strength of documentation is overwhelmingly present, that if it were not for other agendas of people's lives, if it was simply for the health of the home, the family, etc., there would be no current debate. You see, Adam needs an Eve to complement him. Eve needs an Adam. Neither one is fully equipped to raise children. Males cannot do it alone. Females cannot do it alone. In fact, children have a right to a mother and a father. You say, who gives them this right? Nature did. That's why it takes a sperm and an egg to create a child. The object being that there should be a mom and a dad to fill in the needs, because women and men are different, not just biologically, but emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. Children need the input of both in order to develop healthy cultural relationships. If you think about the concept of adoption, adoption never was designed to transcend biology. The purpose of adoption ought to be, and always has been, not meeting the needs of adults who would like to adopt, but meeting the needs of children and bringing restoration to what has been lost. That is, a mother and a father. I spoke of documents and statistics. The overwhelming evidence that we see in the child protection services and in the foster home services indicate to us that no matter how many programs government starts, no matter how much money they spend, they never have any hope of replacing a biological mother and a biological father. Children need one of each. You know, it's been said that what happens in the privacy of a bedroom is not anybody else's business. I would definitely differ with that statement. Pornography, rape, incest, these are typically bedroom type activities. And there are laws against these things because our culture recognizes their harmful and deleterious effect. If we were to advance same-sex marriage, we would be defying common sense. There is no profit in pushing an agenda where children will be left with either no mother or no father. Because the truth is, while somebody can write a book called Heather Has Two Mommies, Heather will never have two mommies. Heather needs a mother and a father. And so I want to close with this thought. Change will come in our culture. This is not a partisan issue. Presidents Clinton and Bush have both made public statements advancing the state of marriage as one man, one woman. This is not a religious issue. This is a social fabric issue. And I have concern for the welfare of our future and the next generation. I'd like to reiterate that redefining marriage as a same-sex union defies common sense and essentially lays the groundwork for tremendous difficulties for the next generation of children. Change is going to come to our land. The question really becomes, where will it come from? If the courts make a decision, typically they will decide in favor of a few against the will of many. What we need is a legal process of a constitutional amendment defining marriage as one man, one woman. We know that in history, whenever the courts bring forth a verdict, as they did with Roe v. Wade, they ultimately change the conscience of a culture, a society. That will happen again if the Supreme Court gets its hands on a decision about what is the definition of marriage. People know better than the court does. They are appointed individuals, and it is the people who ought to be represented by what our Constitution means. So the real question becomes, who will make the decision? Will it be the courts, or will it be the people? And of course, the people who are most concerned in this are church people, because they have traditional values. So I just want to highly exhort every believer to get involved. Get involved in our petition drive through many organizations throughout New Jersey, collecting signatures of pastors that we bring to Trenton and that ultimately we'll probably have to take to Washington. But get involved. We have a citizens rally coming up. We have our petition drive. And of course, there are other opportunities for you to advance the grassroots movement toward a constitutional amendment. It is the only course of action that will save us from the court decisions.